I tried to make practice as hard as I could.
If you got a degree from Texas A&M, you definitely earned it.
Well, we had a lot of battles.
Welcome, everybody. I'm coming from France, Paris in Europe, and it's important to understand that American football is growing and understand more what it takes to coach and play in college and what it means to go to the NFL. So today we will focus on that, and we will have the coach perspective and the player perspective. Today I have the immense honor to receive Coach Sherrill. How are you, Coach?
Doing great. You know, we as coaches become Hall of Famers because we recruit and have the pleasure of coaching people like Richmond Webb. So Richmond had a lot to do with, the Hall of Fame that I got into the state of Texas and to Texas A&M.
And we have the luck also today to receive. I'm losing my English, which I don't have actually. But anyways, I have the honor to have Richmond Webb here with us. How are you, Richmond?
Hey, Dan, Coach, how you doing? Always glad to be here, and thanks for having me on the show. And it's always an honor, and it just brings back great memories for me. By playing days at A&M and always having time to spend with Coach Sherrill, this and that. So definitely looking forward to this. I'm sure you got some great questions, and I'm gonna just roll with it. So I'm gonna let you take the lead.
And you know what? It's funny today, Coach. I'm pretty sure that Richmond will be a little, because normally you tell me, "Hey, you don't know anything on football. You just have to listen to me." But today I have the feeling, because you are there, Coach, he will be more respectful. So thank you, Coach, to be there. Help me, because as a
Dan,
French, I have to have respect.
Dan, he probably thought that a lot of times in the plays that I called during games at Texas A&M.
The only thing he tell me
The
it's
biggest thing would probably be, why are we throwing? How come we're not running the ball?
We had, what, Coach,
the only
we had some really good teams, and I was just trying to find a way to get on the football field because coming out of high school to Texas A&M, and then you realize it's a totally different level from high school, and then the amount of players that were already ahead of me, it showed that you're not gonna just walk on the field, you got to earn it. And the way we used to battle and practice and stuff like that, I mean, that made me a better player. But it was definitely an eye-opening, waking experience when I first got up there with the upperclassmen. It was a different it was a different level.
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
just say that.
Well, we had a lot of battles, and we 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 were not afraid of going against each other. I always felt practice should be harder than the games, because if they're not, then when in the game, you're not going to perform as well. So I tried to make practice as hard as I could so games would be easy. And I can tell you that walking off the field at times, my players and even Richmond didn't like me all the time.
you don't say that, by the way, today.
I wouldn't. But you know what? When you look back, I think that's part of the maturing and becoming a man. A lot of things you don't understand when you're younger, but as you get older, you look back and you can appreciate. You can't appreciate it at the time. I remember when I used to get whoopings or spankings from my parents, and I remember my mom always say, "Oh, this is gonna hurt me more than it hurt you," and I was like, "No." But now that I got grown, had kids, and I understand when you gotta correct your kids or chastise them, it's not fun for you either. But you just can't see it when you're that age. But like they say, just keep waking up in the morning, and you get a different perspective from that.
And I, the only thing I ask, Coach, it's don't bench me or ask me to have a break, because if you do that, you don't have any more questions. So at least let me run the show today. And let's see after if I have the ability to do another one. And talking about the show, it's a remember for everybody. And the first question will be very easy, Coach. In your eyes, what makes college football so unique, and why is coaching at this level so important in shaping young men?
Well, the most important thing, you're getting players that are very young. You know, the kids that are coming out of high school, depends on what high school, what part of the country, but there are different levels of maturity. There are also different level of physical. There's a lot of players that come in from high school from to freshmen in college. By the time 4 years pass, they're completely different players, and they're completely different physically and mentally. So the problem you have in a lot of states, well, not that many, but certainly in the state of Texas, because the kids start playing football very, very young. By the time they reach high school, a lot of those kids have already reached their maturity level, and they're not going to get better in the next 4 years. Well, players like Richmond had not reached his full potential. And so from his freshman year in college to his senior year, he developed immensely. You know, we moved him from a defensive lineman to an offensive lineman, and he excelled immediately. But the maturity and the mental part of it became better and better to, or easier to Richmond. By the time he was a senior, Richmond was one of the best players, period, in college football. Not only offensive lineman, but one of the best players. And that's why he was drafted very high by the Miami Dolphins, first round, simply because of what he did in college. And they watched the maturity. They watched him against other players that were drafted. So uh, they evaluated Richmond kind of like we evaluate him in high school. You know, size, strength, athletic ability, the mental ability, but what kind of person is he? You know, and that's so important. Is he a teammate? Is he a person that will give you every ounce of his physical ability? Will he give you every ounce of his mental ability? And that's what the Dolphins saw in Richmond. That's why they picked him. And they made a great choice because you look at the number of years that Richmond played and played that one particular position. And that position in the offensive line is the most important because you protect the backside of the quarterback.
And Richmond, for you as a player, uh, how, what can you say about that unique opportunity?
Definitely that. I think I think Coach hit the nail on the head when he said the maturity process. I was a player that could play, but like he said, it took time. I got redshirted, which is actually you don't play your freshman year, but I needed that because I needed to get bigger, stronger. Because I played football and basketball, so I would have weight, but then I would lose weight for basketball. But it allowed me to put on weight to be able to be able to compete with guys, and so that definitely helped me. But I think the maturity process, like you said, when I got moved from defense to offense, I wasn't happy about it, but I did what what I was told to do. But I think the thing about it was, like Coach said, a lot of times what you see and what the coaches see is something totally different. So sometimes you got to trust the process, and it was the best. It was the best thing that ever happened for me at the time. I didn't see it, but after I kind of got over my feelings, I just wanted to play. So if it was an opportunity for me to get on the football field, that's the way I took it. And that's the way I approached it. And I think that's the tough part now, and Coach can probably attest to this, is with the way college football is now. And we've talked about it with NIL, name, image, likeness, and the money that they receive. And before, when I was in college, if you transferred, you'd have to sit out a year. Well, now you don't have to do that. So
Okay.
now they get the money. If they're not happy, they can just go to another school, where a lot of time that slows down the maturity process. So that makes a huge thing. But what I really loved about A&M was our coach, not only Coach Sherrill, but the coaching staff was really good at developing players when I was there. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Coach can probably attest, we probably had more players in the NFL at that time than any other school. So that's a test to buying into the program, working hard, and then you got the support staff to where they're developing not just for college, but for the next level. And so, I know I made the right decision, the right choice. And then the other aspect is that, as a player, you think, oh, I got 4 or 5 years here and I'm gone. But now that I'm older, I mean, I stay in touch with Coach Sherrill, and I can call him up and ask him for advice. So once you coach a player, it's not just a 4 or 5 year process. I'm done with you and it's gone. It's like he's got a bunch of sons that's running around, and some of us are in our 50s, some of us might be in our 40s, some of us might be in our 60s. But you know, Coach got to share his family. He got his family, but we're a part of his family too. So I never looked at that aspect, but I have a deeper appreciation for it now because of the value. You can always call back and get advice and trust that somebody's going to give you an honest opinion, whether you like it or not, and that's invaluable to me.
Hey, Coach, I hope you save a lot of money for birthday party because you kind of have a lot of birthday.
I was able to not only follow, but had a lot of pride when the players went to Pro Bowl. I
Yeah.
would send them a little note at the beginning of the year, good luck. But, I had a lot of players that coached at different places that were on teams with each other. And there was a lot of comparison of notes, So, you know, uh, two great players at Miami, Richmond and Danny Marino. So
Yeah.
they shared a lot of notes. And then, of course, Hugh Green was there for a while.
So I will not ask you today which one you prefer. Let's keep that private. So I'm pretty sure it's
I
always
will,
Danny winning.
yeah, I will say this. Richmond doesn't let me drive. He makes sure he drives because he knows I drive too damn fast.
Looking back at your time at Texas A&M, let's focus at Texas A&M, but you can talk about your time at Pittsburgh also. How did you approach building player, not just for the NFL, because not everyone making the NFL at the end, but for life?
Well, the most important, you're trying to have players to understand that football is a small portion of their life, but what they do here uh, determines the rest of their life, and how successful, even the work that you put in. Uh, you're going to think this is the hardest practice you've ever gone through or the hardest day. But once you get out of college and certainly pro ball and on your own life, you have a lot of challenges. So you tried to prepare the players not only for today's practice, but also for tomorrow's life. And knock on wood, I was very successful have in having the ability to be around a lot of great players and that went off and became great in their professions, whatever it was, pro football or accounting or business or whatever they chose, military, whatever profession they chose.
And for you, Richmond, again, as a player perspective?
Yeah, the thing uh, the thing about coaching staff is that it wasn't about, it was, he told me I would have an opportunity to play pro football if, you buy into it. But at the same time, you know, we had academic advisors that really pushed us to work toward getting our education while we was there. So it wasn't just like, let me recruit you, you here for a few years and then, kick you out the door. That was stressed, and that had to be stressed at Texas A&M because academically that was a school chap. No matter what you chose at Texas A&M, I tell people, academically, if you got a degree from Texas A&M, you definitely earned it. I tell people that all the time. And so that's the other step, is that a lot of people just look at what can I get from you now, but when you look at it from the person's and not being selfish and say, okay, I know I'm gonna have this young man for 4 or 5 years, but at the same time, he's going to have a life after football, whether it's professional football, transitioning into, the real world or whatever. And so preparing guys for that, accounting, law, business, whatever you choose. I think that was also stress. It wasn't just about, practicing hard, this and that. You were well rounded, I would say, when you came out of there. And I think that's why guys, whether they made it to the NFL or not, a lot of them had success. And, we had some guys mess up this and that, but whether you messed up or you want guys that got it right, you could still come back and you could talk to coach. And if he could help you, he was going to do that. And I think that's the tough part of being a challenge, because you raise these kids. You want all of them to do the best, but along the way, some guys are going to slip through the cracks, but you still support them and try to get them back on the right path.
And college football is a it's a demanding journey, discipline, sacrifice, pressure, and also chasing your dream, because it's still there. From your perspective, what are the toughest challenges young athletes face at this stage, and how
Well,
do you
the
prepare
biggest,
them
yes,
for it?
well, the
Sorry.
biggest challenge coming from high school to college, not only is the time that you have in 24 hours, you know, you have to manage your time because you're in class, 4 to 6 hours, you're on the practice field, you're, working out, then you're studying, and then you throw in your meals, your whole day is gone. So the biggest thing that the players have to do is readjust their time schedule and understand, now I'm on my own. I got to be in class at 9 or 9:30. I got another class. I got another class. I got lunch. I got another class, and they're all, I got to have study hall. So their time is, they have to arrange their schedule that they also would take some time for themselves. And if you're a college athlete, especially at a great program football wise, you may have 2 to 4 hours a day, or maybe only 1 to 2 hours a day. That is your time, for you to go to a movie, you to go out and be with your friends. So the time management for players, and understanding the time management and how to handle your time, is the biggest adjustment that a kid football player from high school to college. And that's so important. And you do have some that will falter in certain areas, whether it's studying, whether it's, their time that they should be working out, or others that would keep them from really developing uh, what to be a player or be a great player, or to their development in academically, instead of graduating with a C, but being able to graduate with a 3 or plus grade point average.
Richmond?
Yeah. I think, like he said, time management is definitely key. and then, like you said, just making the transition from coming from high school to college football is a different level. And then one way I knew it was a different level is in my class. Everybody in my class got redshirted except for two people: my roommate Rod Harris and James House. So that lets you know how serious it was, a type of competition, because if it wasn't competition, a lot more guys would play their true freshman year. But basically, my whole class got got redshirted, so it was a little bit easier to deal with versus if half the class would have been playing and half of us redshirted. But you didn't. Mentally, for me, that helped me because I was like, okay, a lot of us really need to get stronger, bigger, and adjust to this game. But yeah, only two of them, James House and Rod Harris, but you're right. In high school, you go to class every day, but in college, you might go Monday, Wednesday, Friday to certain classes, Tuesday and Thursday. And so you can easily slip into a habit of saying, well, I don't have to study tonight because I don't have to go back till Wednesday. So you do that. But the thing for freshmen, study hall was mandatory. So you had to go to study hall. So I think the coaches already knew we've got to help. We can't trust that they know the process already. We got to kind of guide them and this and that. And they did a tremendous job of doing that. And um, once you make that adjustment, you count on your way. But yeah, if you you don't want to just get out of there, you want to try to do your best, and I think that's why we had a lot of success. So things were put in place in order to help us succeed, not only on the football field, but also getting your degree from Texas A&M as well.
Now, Dan, they didn't like if you missed the class or you missed study hall. They didn't like what the consequences were.
But this is important.
I
What
blocked I
we are
blocked all
talking
that out.
here.
I don't want to talk about that part. I'm
No, no,
just
no, no, no. Don't worry.
I just
No,
I can't remember. I blocked it. I'm telling you, it's gone. It's gone.
but it's important because if you make the parallel with like for example me who didn't go to when I was in college, I fully focused on study and not on sports, so I have the ability to have more time and maybe don't have to make a choice between study and enjoying my life. For example, when we talk about the players perspective who were giving their all to have the ability to have to have a professional career, you have to make that sacrifice very early in your life. Because me, I make the sacrifice maybe after college, when I put myself together with my degrees and I say, okay, now I'm going to find a job. You know what I mean? But here, your job actually, you were already working for your job in maybe high school, but even more in college. And this is totally the difference between athletes and I will say non-athletes. I don't know if there is a word for that, but I think it's important when we talk about the journey. I mean, it's really there. It's really there. It's a lot of sacrifice and discipline, of course, and don't get late or miss a class.
No, the normal students have a lot more time for themselves than the athletes, because the athletes is time is taken up on the practice field, meeting times, and workouts. So an athlete in college doesn't have very much self time to do what they would like to do that the normal students have.
That's why it's not just about stats. The journey, we have to embrace the journey, not just the stats. And as a coach, what do you see as your greatest responsibility? Winning games or preparing young men for the future?
Well, you got to do the first one, and that is prepare men. Coaches don't win games, players do. And your job as a coach is to put them in certain things. One is to teach them, and the second that is you're teaching them the game. That's why you practice. So you practice extremely hard. You practice over and over. This, and then you prepare them for games. And that's why you go through practice. That's why you study game film. But the most important for a coach is to put them in the right position. And I was fortunate because I was able to see Richmond and visualize Richmond playing offensive tackle. Not that he couldn't play defensive tackle, but he was great offense. He helped us win games offensively. And then the same thing is you put them again in the right position, but then you let the players perform. And, the greatest coach that teaches coaches how to coach was John Wooden at UCLA basketball. You never saw John Wooden, and I played for Coach Bryant at Alabama. On game day, he never said a word to a player. But on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday practice, it was a little different. And uh, so, you do the first three, and then you let the players perform. And we were very successful. And knock on wood, I had the opportunity to be successful uh, using the philosophy that I had in coaching, not only developing players, but allowing players to perform to win games for us.
And Richmond, this is interesting. How can you respond to this by sharing what coach influence meant beyond football for you?
Yeah, I just have a simple saying, and I've said it before. As a coach, if you're honest and genuine with your players, they'll put it on the line for you. But if they figure out that you genuinely don't care for them, or you just kind of BS going through it, you'll lose them, and you'll never get them back. And that doesn't matter what level you coach at. So um, I think we all felt that way, and I think that's why we had so much success. Um, you could go talk to Coach Sherrill, and he was going to shoot you straight, or even some of the other position coaches. If it was something you needed to work on, they're going to tell you that, or this and that. If it's a reason you're not playing, they're going to be honest with you. You might not like hearing what it was, but you got to respect it at the end of the day, because it was consistent, and it wasn't just he tells some guys this and some guys that. So I always appreciated that. And then, like Coach said, I possibly could have made it to the NFL as a defensive lineman, but I wouldn't have had the career that I did at offensive lineman. So like I say, I look back now and say, I'm glad he moved me. But if you would have asked me in 1986 or 87, after I got that message, I'd have been hot and just like, I don't want to talk about it, but it's good. And what make me appreciate it more is like, he'll tell me about other players like Russ Grimm. He's in the Hall of Fame, Jimbo Covert, but just moving different players to different positions. And I think that's when it not only helps the player, but it helps the team as well. And I think that's why he's had success no matter where he's coached at, whether it was Pitt, uh, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, everywhere he's had success, because he has an eye to say, okay, yeah, this guy can play this position, but I think if I move him over here, we'll have much more success, not only just for him, but for the team as well. And that's something that everybody doesn't have that talent, but to have that, it not only benefits the team, but it benefits the player. And so it's just good all the way around.
Wow. It's a lot of, I mean, to be able to achieve your career in college and go to pro football, it's a lot of combination of work, discipline, and I understand that mentally and physically, it's where the work and improvement will be maybe the more important. But I feel it's like a father-son relationship when you're going through your teenage and you have to being a grown man, but you still have to have those advice that you need to not make mistakes. College, it's a tough world. It's a tough world, and it's good that in America, college is an important part on sports, which is not in France, for example. So sometimes coach in college don't have the same responsibility and recognition, and I think it's great that we can have that in American sports.
Well,
Coach, yeah,
yeah, the most important thing as a coach or as a parent, and I would say this to the players all the time: I'm not your friend. I'm your coach. Your parent is not your friend. They are your parent. Years later is when you become very good friends. But you're at that time, I have a responsibility to be your coach. Your parents have the responsibility to be your parents. And that's why it was so important for me to see players in the presence of their mother, because knowing that their mother would tell them or make them do things they didn't want to do, but did they respect their mother? And I had some players that I didn't recruit. I had some players that I removed from the team that did not respect their mothers.
yeah. And I'm afraid today because even here, I don't feel we are friends. I still feel that you're my coach, and I'm afraid that in any question you say, no, no, this one is not good. You have to work more on your question. So I'm always a friend when I'm asking a question now. And the last question, when you think about your career, coach, and the young men you coached, what makes you proudest today?
Well, you're very excited and proud because uh, you have a relationship. And like Richmond said, I get calls and I call former players. I get to see former players. I get to see their kids. Right now, Rod mentioned Rod Harris. Rod Harris was a receiver for us, really talented. I am at this time working with his son, and his son is actually helping what I'm doing. And it's amazing that the connection and the respect, because I coached Rod Senior, the respect that Rod Junior has, and the feelings. So, it never leaves. I mean, you're part of a family, and that family stays together. And the game of football is not easy. It's the hardest game there is, and watching the game NFL game last night, uh, there is a lot of collisions that a normal person wouldn't get up from. So it is a very tough mental, physical game, and it will always be. Even though they try to protect players, it's still a very physical game.
Yeah. And Richmond, it will be the toughest part for you today. If you can share a word for your coach about, I mean, everything that I, I don't know if it's teach you or uh, give you to your life and your professional career. If you have to say a word to your coaches today, it's your time, and it's onto YouTube.
Yeah, I think it's two words. It's simple. It's thank you. Um, you know, like I say, you reflect back all the hard practices, running the sprints, the up downs and the tough scrimmages. All that is the preparation, and it's not all fun, and you don't understand it at the time, but it's something you got to go through for the preparation to be ready to play on back then Saturdays, but it also helped me to play on Sundays. But it also, I think, what a lot of people don't look at, it also prepares you for life because you're gonna get hit with some stuff in life, but it teaches you how to control your emotions and say, hey, this might be a setback, but let me keep my calm and kind of work through the process and that's one thing I do love about sports is, it's highs and lows in life. And when your highs is good, but when you hit a low spot, it's how you respond in those low spots to kind of respond and say, okay, I know where I'm at. Let me just stay calm. I just got to work through this process. I probably didn't get here overnight. It's probably not going to get out of it overnight. But if I just stick with the process, I'll work through it. So the easiest thing I can say is thank you, because I know what certain things I've been through. And if it wasn't for people like Coach Sherrill and stuff pouring in my life, I wouldn't have been able to get through them. So thank you. That's the simplest thing I can say.
So thanks to both of you. Thank you is still a great word, by the way.
It's very great. Yeah.
We don't have to do too much to say thank you. Thank you is very enough. And Coach, I have to share with you something. My father always told me, take your opportunities anytime and don't be afraid to receive a no, because you will receive so much no in your life to have a yes someday. So today I'm giving thank you to my dad to teach me that, because today I will ask you something, Coach. First of all, I never visit a college football in my life. So what about?
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sure, Coach.
You ever come to the U.S.?
No.
How come you don't come and go to a college football game?
And you know what? I would love to go to an Aggies game. And
well, you have two guys that could make that happen. Very easy.
So I will just ask you if you guys welcome me one day in Texas, in A&M, and also for the European, having like a visit tour of the facility to understand how it works. And you know what will be my intention of that? Giving the dream of a young French, Spain, whatever, at 8, 9 years old, and say, what about me not trying to go there and have my chance? Even if I can say this, it will be tough for European to have a professional career in American football. But at 9 years old, it's still good to dream about that.
Yes, no question. Matter of fact, I had my picture taken by a young man. He's not young anymore. He's probably your age, Dan. That his whole dream of his life, young, was to come to America. And so he has that dream. He's from Russia, and he is going through the process of becoming a U.S. citizen, which, it's taken him 7 years, but he will become a U.S. citizen. And that was his dream from being, at the young age of 8, 9, 10 years old.
And if it's not tough, it's not good. The experience will not be great to sharing with all the people after. So it's not because it sounds impossible that you can't try it. And so I give you my boss number, Coach, and you explaining that you have to accept my holidays when I going to Texas.
Now, send me, we'll send it to Richmond, and he'll send it to me, your email.
Okay.
And then I will contact you email-wise.
Okay. Hey, we did that live on YouTube. That's great. I mean, it's a great lesson to everybody. Do great and good thing in your life, and good thing will happen. It's also another lesson that my dad gives me every day. Do good things, and good things will happen. Don't try to be someone you are not and you will never be, just to have something. Just be a great and good person.
There's one thing I did, and I learned it a long time ago. I took our players to the children's hospitals and to, the less fortunate kids than they are. And I could tell more about the kids' character, how they treated the kids and how they interacted with the kids than I knew before them. And I can say this about Richmond, and even today, those kids really relished Richmond coming into their rooms because he would brighten that day up for them.
Just something come to my head. Sorry, Richmond. This is where I'm going on not in control. I should not do that because maybe coach will not invite me. But coach, do you have a funny story to share about Richmond? Something that that could be fun for the audience to hear? Or we keep that in private?
Yeah, no, anything. Yeah, I'm not a private person when it comes to my players.
So let's share some. You have something to say about a funny story about Richmond?
Well, when I went to recruiting, you can't put this out, Dan. But when I went to recruiting, I'm sitting opposite the room from his mom, and so I'm going through the recruiting pitch and talking about A&M and so forth and so on. And all of a sudden, Richmond's mom asked me, "Are you a minister?" Dan, I never answered, never said a word, because I wasn't going to answer that question.
And here it is. Thank you very much, Coach. Thank you very much,
welcome.
Richmond, to give me your time. I mean, time is everything, like you shared today for college persons. So you guys to give me your time to share. It's something very important. And let's celebrate. We just have 2 years, by the way, to celebrate Richmond induction. I hope the Hall of Fame voters will now take his name seriously and make him elected to not him finish in the senior group. And let's remember one thing: behind a pro football player, it was a college player, and there is an entire story there, and it's still good to remember that. Thank you very much to both of you, and
Thank you.
Let's meet. Let's meet. That's the only thing I can say. Let's meet.